There are a few basic categories of all the 613. There's chukim, mishpatim, and then an assortment of others that go by different names. Chok, when we talk of chukim, as said, they're the laws of nature that govern our souls. It also, because we have only one creator, is important for your body, your psyche. Mishpatim are really the principles. They're not rules, they're principles. And they primarily deal with our interaction bein adam l'chavero, between man and man. The third category, which there are different forms of it, are basically religious law that obviously deal with religion. I'd like to start with the chukim, and I guess the first one to talk about is kosher.
So, just clear, chukim is like man to himself through man to God?
It is, chukim are rules, but there's no religious element other than the fact that God said so. As opposed to, say, Shabbat. That's obviously religious. That would be the third category.
How is that different than kosher?
Kosher, you're just listening to rules. Shabbat, there's meaning to it. There's a religious meaning to it. Now, as far as kosher is concerned, why certain animals are kosher and why they're not, the Torah says these are rules. And the reason, these things are good for your soul, these things are bad for your soul. Nachmanides Ramban points out that no carnivorous animals are kosher and no birds of prey are kosher. And he says that aside from whatever it does to your soul, it must be that it affects your psyche as well by devouring the flesh, meat, of an animal that is carnivorous. You can develop a more violent personality.
What about fish? Fish eat each other.
We don't have that rule with fish. It's interesting. There are some violent fish, but most fish very casually swallow up the fish. And, it's only sharks that actually attack. I guess the eels electrocute. Now, let's first be practical. Obviously, if we would be eating those animals, we would be raising these animals. The same with the birds. Which means that they would be part of our environment. So it's not just that we don't eat them, they are therefore not part of our environment. But listen, this does not cover everything. I mean, the symbol of non-kosher food, without question, is the pig. It's not a carnivorous animal. So much so that one of the first things the Reform said was pigs were non-kosher in the days that they lived off the garbages. But today that they're fed fresh corn, they're kosher.
Who said this?
The Reform.
They say this unironically?
What's this?
They really say these?
They said this, yeah.
But don't they not chew their cud?
Yeah, but again, what they're doing is they're trying to give the reasoning behind it, and based on that, they want to determine the halach. Now, and I think this is a very important principle. There's a difference between a chok and a mishpat. In that, in mishpatim, we are dealing with principles. Where the principle applies, the rule applies. Where it doesn't, the principle does not apply, and the rule doesn't apply. When it comes to chok, it is not the principle, it is the rule. So even if you can come up with some reason for it, you cannot determine the halach on the basis of that reason. Yeah.
Just to clarify also, and then we'll get to it, but like mishpatim are only man to man, or it's only the things that are principles?
Primarily, there are things that are between man and himself that are also included, like integrity.
Integrity is like a mitzvah, like a
Yeah, midvar sheker tircha, distance yourself from falsehood. So that's not between man and man, it's between man and himself. Don't lie to yourself even. But it's one of the mishpatim. So, just an example. There's a Gemara that sounds so simplistic. You wonder why the Gemara had to say it. The Gemara tells us we have a commandment to honor parents. So you have two individuals. One individual fed his parents fancy food, and he did not fulfill the commandment, and another one put them to difficult labor and fulfilled the commandment. What's the case? Parents that grew up poor and are not used to eating whatever the food was that they were served, their digestive system was not built to handle it, and they ended up in the hospital. That is not called honoring parents. What about the case of the one who put in the hard work? The king puts out a decree, anyone unemployed must go to the front line. So this person gives his parents difficult work, so the king will not draft them to the front line.
could have given them easy work.
What?
Could have given them easy work.
No. The king may say this is not, this is not enough to justify not going to the front line. You need a Gemara to tell you that.
Which Gemara say these?
Gemara in Kiddushin.
Kiddushin?
Yeah.
Where exactly, you know?
In the Sugi of Kibbut Kinavaim. It's towards the end of the first parak. What do you need? I mean, why we need the Gemara to tell us this? The answer is the Gemara is pointing out Kibbut Ava'im is a mishpat. Don't treat it as a chok. What a chok? The chok is give your parents good food. It's a mishpat, which is do things for your parents.
Because it's a principle to halachas.
Excuse me?
Because it's a principle to halachas that's driven by the actual scenario.
Yeah.
Are there any man to Hashem mishpatim?
No. It's meant to himself. Yeah.
Why would Kibbut Ava'im be a chok? Like, it makes a lot of sense.
Why would it be a chok? Well, first of all, it's not. It's a mishpat.
Yeah, I'm saying, why would we think of that?
Why would you think that? Very interesting thing. The two tablets, the first tablet was between man and God. The second tablet is between man and man. Kibbut Ava'im is in the first tablet. That means it's between man and God. Honoring parents is what gives us a frame of reference for showing honor to our Creator. But it's still Mishpat. What's interesting is that it appears in the part of the Shulchan Aruch that deals with chokim. But it's not a chok.
Are the rest of the mitzvot on the first five on the first mitzvot?
Yeah, the belief in Hashem, no false gods,
Are those all
Shabbat. It's all between man and God. And then come back and something that honor your parents. That's on the first one. Yeah.
So why would that, because it's in the first tablet, you might think it's a chok, but
Yeah.
with the first tablet on chokim, Oh, right.
The first habit between man and God.
Yeah, but why
The
would
Torah has taught us that even though it's a mishpat, really, this is the basis for your relationship with God. If you don't first learn to respect parents out of appreciation for the fact that they brought you into the world, then you probably won't honor God, who brought you, who created and sustained you.
Yeah, my question is like, why? Just because it's in the first habit?
Because the first-
It doesn't mean it's a chok, though.
It doesn't mean it's a chok, but it means it's between man and God.
And why would I think that's a chok?
Because between man and God would sound like a chok. There are no mishpatim to God.
Okay.
Indeed.
And again, in the Shulchan Aruch, it appears together with the chukim. Very interesting. A similar thing, yeah. We once had this story here. So somebody studied the Gemara and started reading all the commentaries, and he goes home and he starts speaking to his parent in third person. What does father want? And his father told him to stop that. So he said, but that's the rule. Because one of the commentaries say you're supposed to speak to a parent in third person. So he came back and he asked us. You see, if it were a chok, perhaps. This is a mishpat. It's to speak to a parent with respect. That's not respect. It looks like you're weird. It's not respectful. So respect will, of course, depend on what's considered a respectful thing in your culture, in your dialect, your language and dialect.
So if it's up to interpretation by you and your society or by your parents, by what they want from you, then how much room is there for you to be punished for doing something unintentional and disrespectful that you thought was respectful?
It's not your responsibility. Unless you should have known better.
So there's no intention matters?
Intentions definitely matter. In all of them, it's mishpatim without question.
Is intention all that matters then?
No. It's most of what matters. So once again, why does the mic work so much better than
Could I ask you,
Yeah.
is davening a mishpat or a chok?
it's neither. It's the third category.
Really?
It's religious. Yeah. It's between man and God, and it's a religious ritual.
Okay.
What about the whole idea of putting your right shoe on first? Whereas
That is a chok. That is a chok.
It's a chok.
It's a chok.
My only thought was because like hit palel is like.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. By the way, there too, there's so much that there's so much that it can do for our psyche. Putting your best foot forward. If you're a righty, then you put your right shoe on first, because we want you to do everything.
If you're lefty, put on your left.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, here's an interesting thing. There's a discussion in the post-game. Righty or lefty is determined by your arms or your legs. For shoes.
Your arms.
In other words, are you a righty depending on which arm is stronger, or are you a righty with regard to shoes, with regard to which leg is strong?
Do you have dominant legs?
What's
Do
that?
you have dominant legs?
So whichever one you put on the skateboard, that's good.
Yeah.
But that would differ?
Anyway, there's a whole discussion. We generally go by arms, not legs. But that's an interesting thing.
But like you could flip your legs on the scooter very easily and have no effect.
No, which one do you
There's a reason why we go like
Right,
the
right. But I'm saying that I can't write with my left hand. I can ride a scooter with my left foot.
There's a reason we go with the
So it's not as good. Okay. So again, this is the principle. Now, the study of mishpatim versus the study of chukim. In chukim, the study is definition, defining the rule. In mishpatim, it's getting the principle. It is because of that most of the time we spend studying Torah, it's in the mishpatim. Because we're really trying to make sense of it. Whereas in chukim, we're not trying to make sense of it, we just want to get a clear definition. I mean, that also is an art, but it's nothing like the mishpatim. So much so that the overwhelming majority of commentary written on the Talmud is dealing with the mishpatim. You know, even though one would have said, I have to study this, the laws of Shabbat. No, but where it's at, where you get the depth, we're really trying to figure out, like, what is the secret? What's that underlying principle? That's in the Mishpatim. In the Chukim, we're just getting definitions.
So does the third category act more as a chok?
It acts more as a chok, but it acts more as a chok, but there's a meaningful element within it. For example, the third category, you mentioned prayer. So what if you shake back and forth in front of the sitter and say every word, but you didn't for a second think about the fact that you're addressing the Creator? That's not what prayer is.
I think it doesn't count though. I think without
It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
I think they rule this in Bracha. Yeah.
It's nothing.
Is the opposite true, where you are fully addressing the Creator, but you don't daven from the sitter?
You're better than the guy davening for the sitter who doesn't realize he's talking to Hashem. But of course, you miss out on what the sitter could have provided for you. But you're certainly better off doing that than just going through a ritual.
Does that count as davening, or is that something else?
It counts as davening. Well, which one?
Like daven, like
in your own words.
like a hispodating kind of thing.
Yeah, it counts as davening. Yes, it does count as davening. It's not a fulfillment of the structure of davening the way it was set up, but the concept of davening you fulfill by speaking to Him.
Is that a separate mitzvah? The structure of davening?
The structure is a Torah mitzvah. No, the structure is within a culture.
But like it's a separate, like you get.
No. The rabbis gave structure to the Torah commandment to talk to Hashem. The Torah commands us to speak to Hashem, and the rabbis gave us the structure of davening. The Great Assembly gave us the structure of davening.
So it's like a greater fulfillment of the mitzvah?
It's a greater fulfillment in the mitzvah, but just the structure, without the awareness that you're speaking to Hashem, is nothing. It's a waste of time. Now, so much so that in Bein Adam L'Chavero, the same act could sometimes be a mitzvah and sometimes be an avera. Depending on where you're coming from. Also, depending on what you're accomplishing. Let's talk about simple cases. Giving charity. What if you're assisting somebody by feeding his addiction, be it to drugs, be it to wine, to alcohol? Is that tzedakah? Are you helping him? The mitzvah is to be caring and to help him. You're destroying him. Pay for his rehab. You really care. So again, when it comes to mishpatim, the act is defined by the principle, and the very same act could be a mitzvah in one case and a non-mitzvah in another case. So if you treat mishpatim as hukim, you're going to miss it. And if you treat hukim as mishpatim, you're going to miss it. There has to be a very clear distinction between chok and mishpat. How do you know? Generally speaking, we say that it depends in what context it is brought in the Gemara and in the Rishonim, the earlier commentaries. It's a general rule. It's not always the case. One of the more confusing prohibitions is taking interest for your money, charging for your money. You're not to charge a Jew for your money. Now, you can rent your car. You can rent your apartment down. But you can't rent your money. Why not? Why not? You need a car. Your car is in for the repairs. I am doing nothing with my car tonight. I'm allowed to charge you.
Because you could, I mean, it's not necessarily true, but you could argue that there's depreciation of the car or house or asset when you give it to the person, versus the money doesn't really depreciate.
It doesn't depreciate, but you could
You could have used it.
You could have used it.
Right.
So, the prohibition of ribis, of interest, is some kind of hybrid. It begins with chok, where the Torah teaches us that you can't rent out your money. But then it becomes a mishpat. We certainly understand the difference it can make. And really, this is something I'll relate. We should discuss at length the Torah's concept of what financially, what the economy of Jewish society should look like. I mean, in this day and age, everything is based around the money market. Right? If you can make more money than the price of money, then you're okay. According to the Torah, there is no price of money. So in this day and age, how would we apply Torah to the economy? I guess I'll leave that for tomorrow.